Hello YouTube, it is your boy V3, back with another kicking movie reaction review. I know I said we'd be doing The Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2 today, but I ended up having a watch party with someone and watching White Zombie from 1932. You know I love my old horror films. I've reviewed a lot of them recently, and this is more. It's a, horror zombie film. It's just a little over an hour. It felt pretty short. It felt shorter than it was, actually. We were watching it, and then it was suddenly half over, and we were like, wait, what? Insane. There are many places to watch this. It's free on Tubi and Pluto TV, and available in subscriptions and premium subscriptions from Epix Now, YouTube TV, Sling, Amazon Prime Video, and Philo. I don't know what Philo is. IMDb gave it a 6.3 out of 10. It has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 3.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and 85% of Google users liked the film. So it was directed by Victor Halpern. The screenplay was by Garnet Weston and produced by Edward Halpton and Phil Goldstone, starring my favorite actor of all time, Bela Lugosi, Madge Bellamy, Robert Fraser, Joseph Cawthorn, John Herron, Brandon Hurst, and George Burr McCannon. Quick read-up of the film. Murder Legendary. His name is Murder, so guess who the bad guy is. Is the menacingly named zombie master of Haiti. Yeah. So it's to him that Charles Beaumont, played by Robert Fraser, goes when he needs help for a twisted plan. Spurned in marriage by Madeline Short, played by Madge Bellamy, Beaumont has decided on a simple solution. Kill Short, bring her back as a zombie. Then she can be his forever. The only problem comes when Legendaire keeps the fetching girl for himself, and her new husband, John Herron, comes to her rescue. I will give you a full walkthrough of this film. So it starts with this new couple who met this rich French guy shortly before they were to be married, and he was like, "Oh, come be married at my place in Haiti. I'll host you." And it's kind of unusual that he's taken such a liking to them. But he hasn't taken a liking to them. He's taken a liking to her. He wants to smash. He sees her as property, more specifically, his property. He asks her to marry him instead. She says no, so he uses this drug that he got from the voodoo witch doctor, Bela Lugosi, to kind of put her in this state that simulates death. Because this is all kind of like hypnosis. It's not like a virus or really even undead. This is kind of more like voodoo zombieism, which is more hypnosis. At least that's how I usually see it portrayed, as hypnosis. Zombie movies all used to be voodoo zombies, but now it's all virus zombies. To be honest, I don't like virus zombies. I think they're boring. I think they're uncreative. Voodoo zombies, I think, are only slightly better. And both voodoo and virus zombies actually do kind of carry this xenophobic racial thing with them. But the voodoo one does much more because it's like a specific black culture, you know? So, we've got this, so he has her die, and then he and Bela Lugosi turn her into a zombie. And at first he didn't want to do it, actually. He didn't want to turn her into a zombie, but he got so desperate that he did it. And then once she was a zombie, he felt, super guilty. And was like, "Witch doctor, please change her back." And the witch doctor was like, "No, I have my own plans for her." And his plans for her aren't very clear. Maybe he just also wants to smash? I don't know. I think he's just sadistic. So, and this is actually, after she's turned into a zombie is when the movie starts to get good, because it actually struggled to keep my attention until she was a zombie. I'm not gonna lie. Even with Bela Lugosi, I was like, ugh. And then we're actually at my favorite part of the film, where he's having a toast with the rich guy, Bela is, and he's oh, and the guy, when he drugged her, he did it via a rose. And Bela was like, remember what I told you? Just a prick via a rose or a glass of wine, which was his line from earlier in the film. And then the rich guy looks down at his wine and like throws it on the ground. And now he has the drug that turns people into zombies. So he's slowly turning into a zombie. Bela's like, you know, basically torturing the dude. And then our female lead's hubby comes to save her. They fight all these zombies, and they kind of just trick the zombies into all walking off a cliff like lemmings, even though lemmings don't actually do that, by the way. Reminded me of a funny story about someone who used the lemmings metaphor. Anyways, so we have this guy, and then Bela Lugosi's like, he throws down this like smoke bomb, and the smoke, they're choking on it, and he's using that smoke to kind of turn them into zombies and stuff. And then the French guy kind of like comes up behind him in this amazing shot. The shot was so good because it was like Bela Lugosi doing his hand gesture that he does when he's turning people into zombies and hypnotizing them, and you can see this shadow staggering up behind him, and it's like, oh my god, the French dude's gotta get him. I don't know if you're supposed to know it's the French dude when you see the shadow, but he's the only other person left, so it has to be him. And he kind of like tackles the witch doctor, and they fall off the cliff. He kind of like sacrifices himself to save them, kind of trying to do a bit of a redemption thing. And I think he was more... I actually figured he would be redeemed, because at the beginning of the film, he kind of didn't want to turn into a zombie in the first place. He was just so sexist that he did it. And then I was at that point, I was like, I feel like he's going to get redeemed. I just really felt like he was going to get redeemed, and I did call that the first time I watched this film. And so that happens, and then we kind of have our ending that a lot of films, like in the 30s and 40s, had, where it was like, oh, the man and the woman are together, ends on a joke. And I'm actually fine with this film ending on a joke. Lots of the time in other... Because if you remember my reviews of The Black Cat and The Raven, also Bela Lugosi films, those films both ended in a joke. And the jokes at the end of those films really killed the tension and stuff and the impact of the ending, but it didn't in this film. Because the ending kind of was all wrapped up so nice in a little bow. Like, because the ending was more hopeful anyways. It didn't end on a bigger, scarier note. And I think that's because this film wasn't psychological horror, and The Raven and The Black Cat were psychological horror, so I think that's why it felt so out of place in those films and less so in this film. I thought the comedic beat at the end was fine. So yeah, White Zombie. The score is very bland for the most part. Lots of the movie is just silent. You remember when I reviewed Dracula 1931 relatively recently? I was like, the movie's filled with silence, but that kind of adds towards the creepy factor. It didn't, because this was right after the transition from silent to talkie, so they weren't sure what to do with a lot of this space in the film. So scores weren't as heavily used in the early 30s. This film literally came out 1 year after Dracula, which was the first talkie horror film. So this is one of the first talkie horror films. Shot in a very short amount of time with a very small budget. And so we get a lot of the silence, but there's actually this one point where he's like crawling, where our hero of the story is kind of like crawling up the ledge to get to the castle that his wife is in, his hypnotized wife. And there's this song that's playing, and it's beautiful, and it goes with it so well. And there are like these vocals like, ah, it's very good. And I was like, okay, wow, that's a good match of score and stuff going on. I really liked that. I thought that was good. I thought that was well done. And Bela's acting was so good. Like, there's this one point when Bela's character is introduced, he like walks up to the carriage that's carrying the engaged couple to the French guy's house, and he like grabs her scarf, and zombies approach, and they like drive away. And that's the first time you see Bela, but the first time you really get the feel of who his character is when the French guy goes to see him. And you don't see Bela Lugosi at first. You just see his hand, right? He reaches out to shake the French guy's hand, and the rich French guy doesn't shake his hand. So Bela's like, and he clenches his fist, and he's like, how dare you not shake my hand? I'm gonna fuck your entire life. And in the film, he mentions it later when the guy's turning into the zombie. He's like, hey, you remember when you refused to shake my hand earlier? Now we're even. And I was like, you did all this because he refused to shake your hand? That's evil. That's awesome. I was like, oh my God, that's evil as fuck, boy. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was so awesome. He ruined this guy's life because he didn't shake his hand. And it didn't even really look like to me he was refusing to shake his hand, because in the film he's looking around nervously because he's surrounded by zombies and they're all just staring at him. And so I don't think he even really sees Bela's hand extend. So it was like a complete accident, and Bela was like, I'm gonna fuck this guy up, man. I'm gonna fuck this guy up. That was just so evil. Oh my God, it was awesome. So yeah, this movie, I wasn't really interested in it until halfway through, even on rewatches, but it's very worth it. It's short. It's short. I think there's an even shorter cut of it than the one I watched, actually. So the one I watched was like an hour, 10 minutes. I think there's an even shorter cut of it. I hear there's an hour, 25-minute cut, but I've never seen it, and I'm not entirely sure if that's true. I do want to talk about a big trigger in this film, which would be racism. It's very racist. Pretty much any voodoo zombie movie is gonna be racist. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Don't expect voodoo zombies without some level of racism. There is a little blackface. I've never seen a restored copy of this film. Maybe there's I know it's on Blu-ray. Hopefully the Blu-ray copy is restored. Maybe I should just get the Blu-ray. But I've never seen a restored copy, so the like audio and visuals aren't super great. It's very grainy, and the edges are like worn. So I know there's blackface in it, but I don't know who's wearing blackface because I can't really see people's faces clearly enough to tell which black person is in blackface. Sorry. Well, I guess it'd be a white person, but still. Pretending to be a black person, not cool. But there's also some like drug use, and there's actually this one scene where we see the wife getting dressed in her wedding gown, and she's like in underwear and a veil and stockings, and that's like it. And I was like, in 1932? Wow. How that got... I guess it's pre-code. This is a pre-code film, but still, damn. Maybe, I don't know. But, yeah, that's it for my review of White Zombie. It's not as good as other horror films from the 30s, but it definitely stands out among them. Bela Lugosi's performance really is what makes this worth watching, in my opinion. His performance is fucking incredible. They use shadows very well in this film throughout, like the scene where the husband's drunk in the bar after his wife has died, and he's like hugging a shadow because he thinks it's her on the wall. Shadows are used very well, but not like a little in a German expressionistic way, but not like full-on German expressionism, but there is some German expressionism influence for sure. But that is it for today's video. Next time I'll do Mandalorian. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And I'll see you all next time.